Okay, well, welcome to yet another edition of our Create the Ripple podcast. I am very excited to be with you again today. I've got another guest with me. Now, for those of you maybe listening or watching for the very first time, my name is Candace Smiley. I am one of the hosts of the Divas That Care Network. And so thank you and kudos to the Divas That Care Network. That really lets me come together and do this, which is create an opportunity and a platform for other women and some men to share what they're up to in the world, what they're passionate about, and sort of what they're doing to make a difference and give back. Now, if you can, it doesn't take very much of your time, but it matters a lot for those of making the time to put the content out there, to make sure that you love, like, follow, subscribe, whatever it is, whatever platform you're finding us on. Please make the time to do that. It really does go a long way for us continuing to provide great content and give you access to great people like this. Now, what's been really fun for me, and if you listen to some of the other episodes that I've done, I've been a little bit surprised because the people I'm interviewing, I've had a chance to at least talk with. Most of them I've had a personal relationship with. And so I'm a little bit surprised because I created space to talk about whatever they're up to. And I was like, I did not know you were up to all of that. So today my guest is Evelyn Larson. She and I met through one of my online posts when I was wanting to connect with people doing really great things. Since then, we've had a chance to chat, expand. I've had a chance to look over her bio. And the woman's up to some big things. What was really cool is, for those of you that know me, know that my two core values are kindness and freedom. And one of the very first words I saw, Evelyn, on your forum was kindness, relationships, helping families and children to be their very best. I think that's a great place to start. So Evelyn, I have your bio in front of me, but I really love it when the guests can just come on and say who they are, what they're up to, and sort of what you want people to hear, and then we'll kind of go through some questions from there.
Well, thank you for that fun introduction. And yes, my name is Evelyn, and I come from kind of the middle child of a very large family. So I think I kind of grew up understanding my role as being kind of a mediator and helping people to kind of get along rather than have some kind of a disagreement about something. So I think that I fell into this work very naturally, and helping people be their very best is really something that I'm very, very passionate about. So most of my work is with children and families, helping children to be their best, but also working with families to help them work together better and be their best. So I live by myself. I'm a widow. I live in Canada, now in isolation. My whole family lives in the United States, so I'm kind of very isolated up here, but Zoom meetings have been really cool. I think I'm handling that pretty well and still able to kind of reach out to some families. And so that's a little bit about myself.
That's awesome. Well, and what's fun is I noticed that you really seem to enjoy being organized, which I think is comes from, again, from growing up with more than a few kids in the family. You grew up in small town Saskatchewan. I grew up in small town Alberta. So clearly we understand each other from that aspect. You says here you're thinking about possibly next things for you could be something like a management book. Talk to me more about that.
Well, in my life's work, which is very much working with children, I actually had the opportunity to work for the largest childcare provider in all of the United States. So that was a really fun position. And I managed a center for the doctors and nurses at a hospital. But during my time working there, I really discovered that to have a successful center, the team really was what each individual person brought to the table, rather than thinking of us working as a team, more thinking about each individual like maybe a chain. and how we could support each part of that chain would create the team rather than the team as a whole. So what I realized is I had the opportunity to support other centers that were kind of going through a hard time. So I had the opportunity to actually go to Alaska, which was a highlight of my life. So when your boss says to you, I would like to leverage some of your management abilities. That really means I want to use you. So, but I had the opportunity, like I said, to go and work at a few different centers, and I really realized that concept that I had didn't work just with my staff, but it worked in other locations as well. And so that's kind of the book I want to write is actually there's only eyes in team rather than looking at a team as a whole. You put up a management sign that says together everybody works what does it say, together everybody achieves more. I think that's what it is, but I really realized that it's what each individual brings to the table, and if we can learn how to work with each other. And so I don't know if you've heard of the book called The Four Agreements.
Love
Have
it.
you
It's
read that
one
book?
of my favorites.
Well, so we have the company handbook, but our sub handbook was the Four Agreements. And so it worked out so well for me as a manager, because when somebody came to me, then I could ask them those questions. Are you taking that personally? Are you assuming? Am I the right person to be talking to about this? So, so I really realized that it doesn't matter what team you're working with, it's really how you work with that team. And so I think I just really realized going to some crisis centers that philosophy works really well. So,
For sure.
so that's my idea.
I like it. Well, and I like it because I have the attitude that there is no I in team, but there is two in winning. And so that's sort of the attitude I bring, is that if everybody brings their best of themselves, right, then there's two I's, right? So it's about really showing up. Then that's when you can really come together. And that really leads into, team for me is all about collaboration and living and staying in your strength zone. And sometimes we work so hard on making the things that we don't love about ourselves better, that we don't choose to really focus on those strengths. And anybody that's really had a big life, I think, yes, they work on what they're not good at, but they more than that, they lean into what they are good at and hire or, pass off, delegate the stuff they're not good at, which I think makes a huge impact when people feel like they can show up and do that. And even in starting these podcasts, I've dedicated basically a whole day where I just come and connect. And it's been a passion of mine for years. I just didn't have all the elements together. And it's a day that I literally get to delegate everything else in my businesses to somebody else, which is a powerful, powerful tool around how good am I actually at communicating. But
well, and I think that you're going to see a little bit of in my bio there that I wrote that I've been called a persuasive delegator. And so it was
like
actually kind of fun, is because where my center was kind of close to the corporate office. So we would have, and because I had a successful center, people would get sent to my center for training. And they believed that my job was so easy, and they just loved, it's like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so great. But they didn't realize all the work that I put in behind to create systems. And so on the day of, because I put so much work into today, that my tomorrow could go really, really,
really
well. And so, so I just said, it's like my job was to sit and look pretty. And that's what I was doing my job. But, so people would kind of go away with a false sense of how easy the job is, because they didn't realize how much work I put into creating the next day before I left the
Right.
So being a persuasive delegator was part of my strategy, because finding the right person to do that job, because that's going to be in the class, like give a box and some document that we were required, rather than having somebody to kind of remember every day to go in and do that when that person could do that. That's just an example
Right.
of finding the right person
To do
to
it.
take care of whatever requirement that was. So
I like how you said that you are passionate about helping people manage themselves and others. And you used, a sort of, I hate to use this word, but the word bullies, because that would be kind of an unkind thing. But I think that that's significant. Now, I was home educated, and so I didn't have an experience of bullies until I got to university. And I can remember remarking out loud, "Oh my gosh, you're totally bullying me right now," because it took me a minute to realize what was going on. But of course, I was in my 20s by then, and so I had an awareness of that. But I remember thinking to myself, no wonder if you're going through this as a teenager, preteen, teen, tween, that kind of thing, how significant that would have been to my self-esteem and self-worth. So I'd love to give you sort of an opportunity to talk about, some of that, right? Present a kindness class.
well, I kind of did a lot of research on bullying
Mm-hmm.
and put together, and it was probably done over about 8 weeks, and an hour every week I would go into this school, and we really talked about bullying, but it was very hands-on,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about, well, first of all, to even understand that you may have hurt somebody else by what you said or but what you did,
Mm-hmm.
but having them have the opportunity for the person who was harmed, have them have the opportunity to say to that person, I felt really bad, or I was really hurt when you said or did this. And then having the person that had done that unkind thing have the opportunity to make them feel better. And I'm not a person that believes in saying sorry
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of everything just goes away. And so but having that person like understand if they want to say sorry, that's a really great thing to do, but I'm not going to tell them that they should say sorry because perhaps they're not. But to have the opportunity there for them to practice the skills and for other people to understand how they are feeling. But also, we did a lot of work with that hurt people. And this was a really powerful moment when this one little boy said that he had come to school because his mom and dad had had a fight in the morning. And he did come to school hurt. And then he took his hurt out on somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just really powerful for him to be so vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
to be able to say that in front of like 30 other children.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so it was a really powerful class. But I think a lot of times that children do not understand that their actions and words are hurting somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about strategies of what, if somebody does do an unkind thing to you, what you can do about it, but also to be aware when you are doing an unkind thing to another person and how that impacts them.
Right, right. So, this is typically the part in the interview where I sort of open it up for my guests and I say, if there's something on your heart and your mind that you wanted to share with our listeners, and they're kind of coming to us from multiple spaces, right? We've got the professionals, we've also got moms, we've also got it's everybody that's going to be listening into these things. But what is sort of the message you want to share? And of course, obviously, we always drop a way to connect with you in the comments below. The Divas That Care Network does a very good job of making sure your information is readily available if somebody wanted to contact you. So I guess this is your opportunity to sort of take this wherever you'd like to, whether that's what you're up to or what's sort of on your mind and heart these days.
For me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, I still continue to do the work with children. I actually teach a wonderful class through the health region here. It's called Friends for Life,
Okay.
but it's really a healthy mind class. So I'm teaching children to understand feelings and thoughts and and how that works and how we think about things can really make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the classes I teach, I love going to his class, and he always introduces me and said, this is the most important class that you will take this year. And so that is just, obviously, it's a really good feeling for myself to have him say that, but to him to value how important it is for us to understand feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that we have been taught as a culture to perhaps not own our feelings. And so I think that's really important for people to understand their own feelings, and maybe the feelings of others, and how what they do impacts the others. So I continue to work with families. I get referrals from the health region here. And so it's a very customized. And so whatever the issues are that this particular family is working on, so I'm going to do the research to put together a program for them to help them with their unique needs. Very so cool. So that's kind of what I do. Just enjoy communicating, and like I said, the relationships that I have with helping people,
which I think is significant, right? And you've had some unique opportunity really that sets you up. And some of our previous guests, they often talk about how whatever's happened to them in their life or for them in their lives have brought them to the place that they are today. And often it's this happened, and so then I switched that around, and now I'm doing this with it. And I think that that's really interesting, right? It really kind of goes back to that nothing happens to you. It always happens for you.
Absolutely. And I think it's, for me in my journey, as you'll see from my bio, I felt that I had an enchanted childhood. I used to say it was a Norman Rockwell painting, but a lot of people didn't know who Norman Rockwell was. So I kind of it's like an enchanted childhood that I couldn't have asked for a better upbringing. And then I married a sociopath. So then I got to experience the exact opposite of that. But it's really interesting because I think because of the foundation that I had from my upbringing got me through that piece. And for me to understand what did I learn about myself through that experience. And so to be able to look at that in a different light than be bitter and resentful, and understanding that hurt people. And so for myself, through the work that I've done with myself, is to be able to understand that at one point this sociopath was a child that was probably wanted and loved, and the circumstances that happened to him created who he was. And I was able to forgive him for that, understanding that he was only who he was because of what had happened to him.
Right.
So
powerful lesson.
So yes, I do believe that happened.
That's an interesting way to look at it. And the forgiveness piece, I think, is so crucial, right? Forgiveness really frees you up to remember. And it's funny because I often think about that, like when I'll see someone and I think, once upon a time you were a child, and hopefully you were wanted, and hopefully you were, you're somebody's baby. And that's easy for me because, I hang out with a tiny human most of the time. And, it's interesting to see where we come from to where we're going. So in the last couple of minutes of our interview here, Evelyn, is there anything else you sort of want to add or leave our listeners with?
I just want everybody to understand that understanding yourself is really, really important, in that, and knowing that you are everything you need, you are enough, like whatever it is, like you are enough, and to rely on yourself. Because if you just listen to your own self, it'll lead you in the right direction. And, like I look at myself and I think that I am very, very emotionally healthy And when I can be emotionally healthy, that creates a physical healthiness as well. And I just wish for everybody to be able to live in peace every day and live in joy every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's possible. And we don't need somebody else. We don't need to look to somebody else to try and provide that for us, because we can take care of that ourselves. And you know what I mean? We don't have to have anybody else do that for us. So we are everything that we need.
Whew, mic drop, girlfriend. That was amazing.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for joining me today. I've been saying, I started these felt led to start these as an opportunity to create a platform for people to share. What's been a magical little piece to the whole thing is I feel like as I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh my goodness, I see why talk show hosts continue to host them, because I am getting the most value out of this, the opportunity. And I'm so blessed and honored that women like yourself are willing to hold space with me for a few minutes and talk about what you're up to and what you're sending out into the world. So thank you so much, Evelyn, for making some time to connect with me today.
Well, and I appreciate the invitation. So it has been a really great time for me as well.
That's awesome. Well, wonderful. And for our listeners, or for the ones who are watching, we will have all of Evelyn's contact down below. Of course, mine as well, Divas That Care, et cetera, et cetera. Remember, like, love, share, follow, comment, subscribe. That makes the biggest impact for us. So we can continue to put this content out there for you to find and enjoy. And we will catch you again. Stick in line. This will be more in the playlist. And we will catch you guys on another time. Thank you so much.